I'm not gonna lie, there is like one topic I have avoided on this channel for like a long period of time, which isn't really anything secret, but at the very same time, I just don't know when to really bring this stuff up, right? But it's like kind of how when I started talking about Genshin content and how no one was caring and no one was watching, I didn't get anybody that plays Genshin to watch those videos. Like, it's hard to start talking about something that no one really knows or cares about, but the more you talk about it, and hopefully the more people get behind it, you know, it will take off in some shape and form. And what's harder about this is that literally the fandom, or at least the fans, or people that watch it, or the co-hosts, or whatever, that is behind this show, is basically non-existent. I literally have to create it from the dust to the ground in order for it to breathe and actually be a thing. What I'm basically talking about is, you know, the JSX4 series on this channel that I very much enjoy writing the story of, even though sometimes putting all that stuff together is a bit of a head ass, but it's something that I very much enjoy working on. It's the project that genuinely makes me happy to keep continuing to write, because it's nothing like a lot of the shows that I watch within anime, right? Because a lot of the damn time when it comes to harem shows, usually you get a lot of stuff that does not matter, a lot of stuff that makes you irritated, like the male OC being oblivious to the fine female characters around them and stuff like that, where this show just does not believe in that and takes a more realistic approach with him just straight up clapping the cheeks of random characters, because why the hell not, you know? And you know, that's just kind of what I was going through while trying to make this whole damn thing, right? A lot of this, I would say for sure, was inspired by DxD, because of how much I like DxD and how it's like one of my favorite animes of all time. But at the very same time, I didn't want to make it like a traditional show. I didn't want it to make it something where, you know, you watch it and it's just like a regular harem show and it's just GGs and all that sort of stuff. I didn't want to do that. And I wanted to make it something a bit more different than what it is, which I know there's still a lot of stuff I haven't explained within the show, but there's a fair amount of things that's within it that hopefully will be good if I can just lay all the pieces together, right? So there is that. And also, I don't even know how long this show will go on for, but hopefully it will go on long enough for the story to still make sense, for everything to really be good, and for you to really, you know, sit here and care for it. But that's kind of the problem, caring for it, because I only bring it up when an episode is ready to drop. Like, that's not really a lot of a reason for people to sit here and care. And there was moments where I was thinking in the channel too, where I'm like, maybe I should do skits with those characters and then, you know, just kind of do random stuff with them. But then even then, it's like, would anybody sit here and watch something like that with, you know, original characters all the time, kind of just doing random stuff and everything? I don't know. And that's kind of like the big thing when it comes down to it, right? And why I haven't tried anything with JSX4. But it is literally the one thing on this channel that's left, in my opinion, that is basically the only thing that's lacking, right? Because everything else is working a bit in my favor when it comes down to viewership and people caring about certain topics and discussions that we have on this channel. But that's the one series that does not work, even though I've been consistent at it for like 2 years at this point, maybe 3. But it's just like, that's the one thing that hasn't been, you know, working in my favor. And that's something I gotta somehow figure out, right? Because there's a lot of heat there that I want to try, to do, right? And I fully already understand that this story is not going to be the most, you know, coherent thing on the planet, because I mean, it is a YouTube show, so it's not really anything that's going to be, you know, the most built up coherent thing on the planet. I try to make it as coherent as possible, but it's not going to be the most, you know, built up thing ever, because it's just one guy doing basically all the stuff you've seen in that show. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to put together, but it's something I very much just have an enjoyment of, you know? And maybe not every single plot line is gonna hit, but I try to make it hit some shape and form as best as I can. Because like I said before, things like DxD does stuff for me, right? Because even though I may not like Issei, he's a bastard, a bitch boy, and basically every curse word under the sun that I can basically throw out just because I can. But I do like the show. I do like the fact that this man has gone through some trauma and, is effectively having a shitty mindset. And I think that's actually a cool aspect of how the story is played out. Where something like JSX4, it kind of happens, but it's kind of sporadic when it does. I'll admit it. It's a bit of a flaw when it comes down to it, because sometimes you have him kind of like, chilling with everybody. Other times he kind of has a confidence issue, and then that's just kind of how it is, right? And there's a lot of that kind of happens at times, but I try to again make it consistent as possible when I can. But it's just really hard to keep up with a lot of that stuff. But granted, you wouldn't even know that because a lot of you guys don't watch that show. A lot of you guys don't watch that series on the channel. You don't even know where to even start with it, right? Even if it's labeled episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's still not something that you would sit here and just want to go back and watch. And then at the very same time, because I was starting it out, I also really shouldn't have done it, but shot myself in the foot a bit, because I kept over explaining stuff and explaining stuff really in depth that I really didn't need to, which, very much throws off the pacing for a lot of the earlier episodes. So it's not really something that, you would probably sit there and want to watch and enjoy. And because nowadays that problem is fixed, right? Nowadays I don't really talk at the end of the video to kind of elaborate on what has happened. I don't really break apart the video to over explain, hey, this is what's happening, this is the mindset of what I was thinking of at the time, and all that sort of stuff. I was just excited back then because I was trying something different and new, a story to tell that I never really tried before. Like, at least in a way like this, where people that I don't know watch something that I'm writing just to see if this is hitting or not. And it was a bit of an exciting time, but it was also a time where I should have, done something a bit better in terms of storytelling, right? And now it's like, if you really want to get into it, it's kind of like you got to really persevere the first few episodes to really just be like, okay, this is kind of annoying with how much he's over explaining stuff, but at the very same time I can probably get into it, and that's just kind of how it is, right? And then also I would definitely say the upload schedule of it is sometimes like a month, maybe 2 months for an episode, which is a bit shit, I'm not gonna lie, but that's just kind of how it is though. One, because I want to make sure that each episode means something, that you are getting closer to some type of answer or a goal or of some kind and not wasting time. And then B, I don't want to go into one direction, then another direction could be way better, and then I effed up and I did it already. But I don't want to waste that type of effort and energy to make something that I'm really gonna regret later, and all that sort of stuff too, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into writing a harem show and just things and sort like that. But there's also a lot of it that you just got to carefully consider, but also not necessarily sit here and just waste a lot of time on too, right? Because if you just have an idea and that's all you got, and that's really all you can think of, just go for it. And then if you can make it better later, then we can make it better later. And that's just kind of how it is for the thought process of it. I think another thing that sucks about this whole series that I've been doing for like a few years now, I think another thing that sucks about it too is just the fact that I don't have a recap thing for it, right? I don't have an easy way to recap a lot of the stuff that has happened without going through all the episodes again, right? Or at least throughout the entirety of the Junko arc, because I know a lot of people that might look at it for 1 second and be like, why the hell is this original character there? Is this just some, yes, I'm an original character and I insert myself into, this random anime girl's life and all that sort of stuff because it is a cringe fest, it is a Western twink fest and all that sort of stuff, when, yeah, sure, you could possibly say that, but at the very same time, everything happens for a reason, right? I don't want it to be, oh, I just inserted Jay into the DXC universe, beat Issei's ass, and then stole his woman's, and that's just how it is, which granted, that's season 2, but there's a decent reason as to why season 1 built that up for that, to a point because of wacky ass nonsense from Junko and Nishima, but you don't even know why Junko is even there, and that's where the origin story kicks in when I get to that damn point. But but that's the kind of like the thing. It's just like there is so much that is built in there that is not just insert character here, here, and here, because that's just how it is. There's multiple reasons as to why everything has happened the way it did, but explaining all that stuff is also like a giant fat ass issue because I don't want to overly give you all the details, but I don't want to just not give you the details either, right? I don't want to try to be overly smart with the content I'm trying to provide, but I don't want to be overly dumb where you just don't understand and don't get why things are happening, right? I wish genuinely there was more people to watch that series and enjoy for what it is and give thoughts and questions about it, because there's a lot of things I really would like to say about it, but then at the same time I can't really say anything about it if not a lot of people sit there and watch it, right? I want to actually build like a some type of fandom for it, right? Hopefully, because the way I've seen people talk about that show that does watch it, they're also saying like, yo, this feels like some type of Ruby shit, right? Maybe not entirely of like story, but it gives like the vibes of like, oh, it's on YouTube, it's a story that's trying to be something and all that sort of stuff, and it just gives off like those early Ruby vibes when it comes down to it. And if that's what somebody gets off of that, that's not bad. That's not a bad compliment to it. But at the very same time, it's a lot to prove itself to be something, right? It's just hard. It's genuinely just hard because outside of designs, no one really knows anything about any of these girls that you're probably seeing on screen right now. Like, did you know about the black and purple one who also can tear parts off her body kind of off and regrow it like it ain't nothing because of a certain ability that kind of just lets her have that with because of biology that's unique to her? Or did you kind of know anything about, the pale looking girl with the black hair that basically is looking very short and very cute, but also has a very traumatic past and been alive for 4,000 years because of nonsense? Right? Did you know that the girl with the one eye that has like the swoop of hair in her face? Did you know she's a princess from a different world? And did you know that all these girls come from dreams of the main character? Yeah, that's something again that most people probably don't know. And it's kind of wacky because that's just how it is. Where I look at something like again DXC, where Issei is suffering from Rainier and suffering from having nightmares about these girls and Rainier and all that sort of stuff. Jay has his own issues with that too, but not nearly, but obviously not in the same way, right? Because there has been a lot of moments that happen to him in the show that would be a bit of some real world trauma for anybody, like being in a different world, separated from a lot of things that you used to know. Even if you got everything that you wanted, you're still not okay in the head with a lot of things. Or literally like the time at the end of the Junko arc where his heart got ripped out by basically the main bad guy of the show. And yeah, you don't think that affects him in some shape and form? You don't think that is, haunting him in some way? It still does. I just haven't showcased it at all, right? Which is why I've been trying to learn how to do something like that with this current arc that we're in the main story, with a character potentially dying and it's freaking Jay out a lot, and he's having issues dealing with that. So because of the future and what could possibly happen. And if you've seen the last episode, the main one, where Lamine is getting approached by Boyoko with certain things, it could mean, hey, could Lamine be the person that died? Could it still be Konaka? Maybe could it be any of the original girls? Could it be literally somebody else I haven't said and could possibly be the case? Who really knows? That's like the whole damn thing. You don't know what's gonna happen there, and that's something I would like people to care about. My point is, when it comes down to this whole video, that probably is again not gonna do well, but my whole point of it is I just want people to be interested into it, but I gotta make you interested into it though. I gotta show that it's worth your time. And hopefully with the future of this channel, if this channel, you know, is gonna do the great works that hopefully it's blessed to do, hopefully at some point in time, you know, people will actually want to watch it, want to enjoy it for what it is. But I also got to put in the effort and part and energy to do so, to make you care for it, to make you think, yeah, this show is gas and it's actually worth the effort, and all that sort of stuff too, right? Because there's been a lot of episodes, a lot of images I've taken in Koikatsu for these characters, and ultimately it will be kind of sad if I never really cashed in on this whatsoever, right? So I don't know, that's to me the main thing I want to really focus on, and hopefully you guys can see that vision too.